Ladies and gentlemen, this is London Calling. I'm standing here in the heart of the city on this unforgettable day, Victory in Europe Day. It's May 8th, 1945, and after 6 long years of war, the guns have fallen silent across the continent. Thousands are flooding the streets, laughing, crying, singing from Piccadilly to Buckingham Palace. Just hours ago, Prime Minister Churchill declared, "This is your victory." And the people have answered with a chorus of joy. We've endured the blitz, the blackouts, the heartbreak, but today, London stands victorious. Our allies are victorious. Peace has returned to Europe. May the peace and fellowship of our allies endure. From London, reporting history as it happens. "80 years ago, the world held its breath. A girl hears the news on the radio and runs into the street. A boy sees his mother cry, not from sorrow, but from relief. A US soldier in Germany writes, 'It's over, I'm coming home.' On May 8, 1945, it exhaled in relief, in joy, in exhaustion. Victory in Europe Day was more than an end. It was a beginning. But behind every cheer was a name not spoken, a chair left empty, a telegram unopened. But what did we win? And what have we forgotten? The cheering crowds that danced in Trafalgar Square, that wept at Notre Dame, that kissed strangers in Times Square. They were not merely celebrating Germany's surrender. They were mourning the cost. They were reckoning with a world shattered. And they were daring to hope that this time the peace might last. To understand VE Day, we must remember what came before it. The Second World War claimed over 70 million lives. Entire cities were reduced to ash. Families vanished into concentration camps. Soldiers froze in forests, burned in bombings, bled in trenches. The Holocaust exposed a new kind of evil mechanized, bureaucratic genocidal. Hiroshima and Nagasaki followed in August, a grim foreshadowing of humanity's capacity for annihilation. But this was not just a European tragedy. It was global. In China, in North Africa, in the Pacific Islands, in Burma and the Philippines, the war spilled oceans of blood. This was not a chapter in history, it was a scar. This wasn't just a European tragedy. It was global. And the work of remembering and rebuilding belongs to us now. So when the bells rang on May 8, 1945, the question was not just what had ended. It was what could now begin. The architects of the post-war world faced a paradox. They had just survived history's greatest descent into chaos. And yet, they dreamed not of revenge, but of renewal. Out of the ashes came institutions, the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, NATO, Bretton Woods, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Marshall Plan. Their goal? Never again. Never again should war be the default language of diplomacy. Never again should the poor be left to starve while the rich hoard power. Never again should nations isolate when they could integrate. Was it perfect? No. Was it visionary? Absolutely. A survivor later said, "When the war ended, I thought peace would be permanent. I didn't realize peace is something you have to keep choosing. We assumed peace was the natural state of things. But peace, like democracy, like memory, requires maintenance and faith." The post-war order was built on 3 fragile but luminous pillars: cooperation, restraint, and memory. Cooperation. Nations would work together through shared rules and multilateral bodies. Restraint. Even the strong would accept limits. Memory. We would remember what unbridled nationalism and unchecked militarism had cost. The United Nations, with all its flaws, gave every nation a seat at the table. The Bretton Woods system stabilized economies, curbing the chaos of interwar hyperinflation and depression. The European coal and steel community laid the groundwork for peace in a continent soaked in centuries of blood. Even amid Cold War tension, nuclear arms were checked by diplomacy, and rivalries cooled by realpolitik. Fast forward to 2025. Now, 80 years later, the silence after war is gone, and in its place, the rising hum of something ancient returning. The world is burning again. From Ukraine to Gaza, Ethiopia to Yemen, war is no longer the exception. Climate refugees flee rising tides. Democracies falter under the weight of disinformation, demagogues and despair. And what of the institutions meant to guard us? They falter too. The UN is ignored. Trade agreements crumble. The climate accords sputter. When was the last time you trusted an institution to tell you the truth? And when did that trust begin to erode? The post-war order, once fragile but firm, now cracks beneath the weight of apathy. And yet, in refugee camps and climate assemblies, in war-torn classrooms and cross-border relief efforts, there are still signs of that old, defiant hope. But ask yourself this: what has replaced it? What system of cooperation now shields us from the abyss? When international order collapses, the world does not grow freer. It grows crueler. Borders harden, wars spread, markets implode, authoritarians rise. Without a shared framework, the powerful act without consequence, and the powerless suffer without recourse. Migration crises become permanent. Climate change accelerates without accountability. Aid dries up. Extremism spreads like wildfire through dry hearts. We forget too easily what a world without order looks like. But our grandparents remembered. That is why they built what they did. To remember VE Day is not nostalgia. It is resistance. Resistance to forgetting, to cynicism, to the lie that history is irrelevant. Those who danced in the streets in May 1945 had known despair. They had buried their sons, rationed their bread, rebuilt their homes with blistered hands. But they did not retreat from the world. They engaged it. They dreamed of something better. They believed the future could be brighter than the past. Today, we stand at a crossroads. Will we withdraw from the world, hoarding wealth and building walls? Or will we, like the founders of the post-war order, invest in cooperation, in justice, in peace? Will we tear down what remains of global consensus? Or will we reform it, reinvigorate it, remember why it was born? To return to that post-war spirit is not to repeat the past. It is to learn from it, to believe once again that progress is possible, that institutions matter, that diplomacy is sacred, and that peace is worth the price of vigilance. They remembered, they rebuilt. Now it's our turn. Thank you for watching. Our channel, known as the Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Just as the Renaissance reclaimed the wisdom of the past to forge a luminous future, we too must recover our better angels. That is the spirit this channel strives to revive, the Renaissance spirit. A way of learning, living, and thinking that sees history not as a relic, but a relationship. We explore history, politics, religion, personal development, society, culture, and justice, not as scattered subjects, but as one unified human conversation. Topics perfect for the true modern polymath. Living the Renaissance spirit means engaging with history not as a distant past, but as a living dialogue, constantly informing and enriching our present. The Renaissance spirit is a reminder of our dialogue with the future, our progeny and posterity, our legacy. Will we grant them a future free from fear of climate change and tales of the end of democracy? Will they remember us as the ones who let it slip away? Or as the generation that rose again just in time? Or will they remember us fondly as saviors of humanity and the natural world? The Renaissance ushered in a golden age and the pursuit of knowledge, knowledge both lost to time and yet to be discovered. It gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason, embracing truth, knowledge, and an understanding and compassion for humanity and our shared history opens up the world to each of us, individually, and improves all of humanity, affording us the opportunity to be better stewards of the earth and to each other. The Renaissance spirit isn't nostalgia, it's a vow to remember, to reason, to rebuild, because history has not died, only our understanding of it. So on this day, 80 years later, we don't just ask what we remember, we ask what we will carry forward.